audio. Disable audio laptop.
My name is Alexandra and I'm from MyHackathon. Today, we have a very interesting speaker with us, which is Fareisha Muhammad Zaid, a very interesting coach that has been helping us out in MyHackathon. And I'm very, very happy to have her today because she is among the women coaches that I look up to as well. Um, in short, she has helped design so, part of Accenture as a human capital technology lead, and she has helped design and led the digitization of HR systems for Petramina in Indonesia. That's a huge place, which is equivalent to our Petronas actually. So she's kind of a big deal. And she also designs national blueprints and strategic business transformations, lead systems implementation, coach, deals with coaches in hackathons, and also among the creative industry. Is that right, Nur Farisha?
Hi, Alex.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you got that. Mouthful.
And I think, out of that, she has a lot more to share with us. And I think it's not fair if I introduce most of the huge things that she's participated in. So I'm going to let Farisha introduce herself as well.
Hi, guys. My name is Fareisha, as Alex has introduced me. Thank you, Alex, for having me. It's been an honor to be on the project, right? So you've really summed up everything that I've done. Basically, I started off with designing processes when I was doing consulting all this while. And then I was given the opportunity to design and lead systems implementation for a national oil and gas company in Indonesia. So it was pretty much a nationwide project, right? And then I got back. Thanks to COVID, we got stranded here, and then I'm in this amazing project right now. So,
Oh no.
yeah. So, but it has been a very enjoyable coaching journey, I must say.
So you are part of My Hackathon Coaches, and you've been through two cities already. We've been through Rakyat Prihatin and Rakyat Sehat Sejahtera together, actually, through the Meet Your Coaches session. So what do you think about, what's your experience as a coach for My Hackathon?
I must say I am actually enjoying it, right? I am enjoying it because, so typically what happens in a consulting project, because I've been a consultant for 12 years, right? When I consult, so it will be one project with a particular client. So you grow with the client and you understand their nature. So they could be from a national space agency, or they could be an oil and gas. They could be in HR, a lot of things. But for hackathon, I've been meeting a broad range of teams in one day. So in one full day, I would be coaching students. There's professors, there's startups, there's way experienced people, way more experienced than myself. I must say it is a very, very humbling experience and enjoyable one too. So it picks my brain at the same time.
It's been a really big mix of teams, really. As we've seen in the finalists, 20 from Kuala Lumpur and 21 from Kuala Terengganu. So what do you think of the two teams so far? I mean, the two teams as in Rakyat Prihatin.
Both teams are equally competitive and equally creative. So I've seen as we go through the coaching journey, they would share their solutions, and then we would brainstorm and stuff. So both teams are very creative. But I noticed in Kuala Terengganu, you've got 21 teams instead of our normal 20 teams only, right, for the shortlisted. So you've got 21 teams. And if I'm not mistaken, because there was a tie or something in the submission.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Top 10. 10th place shared between two teams.
Yeah. So I found that actually interesting. And in the later part of our chat, maybe I can share this experience regarding this tie and how it has actually helped in my coaching and helped sort of focus our conversations with the participants.
I'm pretty sure that the questions coming from the finalists, because after they found out they become finalists, the questions become very different, right?
Yeah.
So I think we can start with some of the questions from the participants of MyHackathon.
Okay.
I think these are the questions that you have found from the participants who have become finalists or future participants as well. I have 3 questions. So it's actually from Fareisha. But I think it's a very, these 3 questions are very interesting as well. So what is important in a pilot deployment plan?
Now, so as you have mentioned, during our coaching experiences, right? Before being shortlisted, it was a broader range of questions. And then as soon as we have managed to interact with the shortlisted participants, they really started nailing down to, okay, so how can we win, right? What else do we need, that kind of thing. And then one of the key things required is, of course, your pilot deployment plan for the participants. Okay. And this is especially true for the marathon goers. So I would, in my experience as a system implementer myself, and how I would approach it myself, so I've shared some tips and tricks around. In a pilot deployment plan, always go for 3 things. There's a lot, but the 3 key things would be scope, time, and cost. So how do we go about that, right? Let's take an example. One of the KT Kuala Terengganu themes, the famous digitization of Pink Book. So
that was a famous one.
Yeah, that was a really famous one. And I've been meeting so many teams, wanting to do that, and that's really great because that's a super pain point for our country. And I would ask them, so how would you actually deploy this as a pilot project? Start looking at the scope. So by scope, meaning you can work with assumptions. How many users do you expect to use your solution when you deploy this? So that is a scope. Where is the area? Are you looking at a hospital or a number of clinics? And justify that why at certain area, right? So then they started to think it's not just about having a really awesome solution. I mean, I would quote Kat Linda on this. She would always promote like, guys have a really awesome solution, and I totally agree with her. But at the back of it, when you start to deploy and start to make it more realistic, so how do you make this awesome solution work in a smaller parameter? So therein is your scope. Basically, how many users are you targeting to use your mobile app or your web solution, and where? And then the timeline. So we know the pilot deployment plan is 6 to 12 months. Do tell, I mean, especially when the participants are going to pitch, right? Do tell the judges or the panelists, how do you plan to work this out within that 12 months? What are you going to achieve in the first 3 months, and so on and so forth? You show your milestones, because this is what I would consider small wins, right? Small wins are something that the team can look forward to. And it's a sense of achievement. You don't have to wait until 12 months down the road and then only celebrate. But it's a motivation for the team. Like every milestone you hit, like, yes, guys, we've come up with the user journey. Yes, guys, we've come up with the frame of the mobile app. It motivates the team. It motivates your stakeholders, because your stakeholders will see that, yes, they are progressing. And then finally is the cost. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the participants, the winning teams, will get 250,000 ringgit.
Yes.
Right. So that's a reasonable amount of money for your pilot deployment plan. So then I would suggest, how do you tie back to your milestones? Because that would how do you say it? That would show your thought process, how much money is being used by when. That would be a really great project management behind the entire awesome solutions that I'm sure a lot of teams have. Yeah.
I think
so
most of
those three
us,
things then.
Yes, most of the teams are very into thinking that the solution has to deploy to the whole of Malaysia straight away.
Yeah.
That's how pilot deployment works. You start with a small population first, isn't it?
Yeah. And that makes it measurable, right, Alex? Once you can make that measurable, and then you talk about scalability. It has been shared with all the participants that scalability is something that the organizers are looking at, the stakeholders are hoping for. So your solution doesn't stop just there. I mean, of course, we would want to see future development of the solution of the team itself.
And as shared by Azman from Cradle from our previous AMA sessions, they're aware that this conditional government grant is, some people might say it's not enough, but definitely the support from Cradle would be very, very powerful in pushing startups for more funding and also for more opportunity solutions.
Yeah, true, very true.
So that answers the first question of what's important in a pilot plan. How to ensure that ideas work? That's my second question.
Okay. So this was actually a tough question, which I got from the beginning. It wasn't even just during the shortlisted participants.
It's a large question.
Yeah, it was a large question. So from the beginning, when the coaches were confronted with such questions, it was more of a, okay, let's look at the design thinking aspect of things. We've had coach or mentor Zain Amri, who shared design thinking at every launch, at both launches that we went. It was very insightful. But however, as the teams got shortlisted, and then the same question still came about, but they were looking at a different point of view. And I would say that before I probably share my point of view, what do you think about this, Alex?
I think any idea that is asking this huge question needs to put everything down on paper. That's my opinion.
Always agree with on paper. So my go-to approach with this is number one, think of how your ideas will create value,
Mhm.
right? And that is actually how it will work. Fantastic ideas are all, it's a thinking process, but then like you said, put it on paper, definitely, and think about how will it create value for the stakeholders, for the target groups.
Mhm.
That's number one. And number two is validate. I cannot emphasize this more. Um, so for each themes, right, for each problem statements, there are target groups that the solution needs to address. So let's go, for example, right, probably this might help, future participants in the future themes, if they check this out. For a target group for OKU, for example, once you have your solution, validate with the potential users and different types or different groups of OKU so that you have a more holistic approach to your solution. Whether it's visual impairment or physical impairment and such. And also validate with that target group, but different age groups. So let's go back to a famous pink book, right? So we, myself and my team of coaches have come across this digitization of pink book, and there are different target groups to the pink book solution. But if one of them is parents who will use this, whether it's an app or a web-based solution, go for different kinds of groups like 20-year-old parents, 40-year-old parents, 50-year-old parents, because they would have different needs probably. And these information can feed you to improve your user experience. That's really important. Both, daddy and mommy, both parents on that spectrum. So yeah, I think validation is super, super important. Even before submitting, definitely before pitching would be a really, really good act to do for teams.
And I think we can also share with the audience that the workshop for ideation is actually on Cradle Fund's Facebook page. It was during our launch at Kuala Terengganu. I think it's on the Facebook page. And I think I can add to what you said about validation. And it's not usually the case that we have to start from scratch, right? Because there are
Right.
guidelines on how technology can be more inclusive for OKUs, for example.
Yes, exactly. It's actually a point for reiteration. So in the entire spectrum of design thinking, it's a lot about reiteration. You don't have to go back to scratch because especially at this point for the shortlisted participants, you're already going in, you're gearing in for that pitch, right? So it's more about fine tuning. So where else can I fine tune my solution? Is there a difference between if a mom uses this app and a dad uses this app? As simple as even color combination, right? You wouldn't. Well, I personally, if I'm a user, I personally wouldn't want a rainbow mobile app.
That's true.
Something that is simple, easy to navigate.
Easy on the eyes.
Yeah, easy on the eyes.
Yeah. So especially when you said something about the target market of different age groups, that's something that people don't really consider when they create apps today, especially for a pink book, for example. We rarely think of case studies where parents are of different age range and how they behave towards that app. So besides having those considerations and also having those solutions, what else does our team need, or what else do teams need to have a successful app?
I would usually think of the team combination, right? The dynamics in the team. So hopefully this would be for the upcoming teams because current teams like you guys are already going in for the pitch. For upcoming teams, have a balance between your technical experts, your programmers, your UX designers, UI UX designers, your coders and stuff, and then the person who will look at it from a business point of view or the user point of view. This will provide a balance as to how the solutioning will actually be presented to the user. Because if you're too technical, then during your submission, in the submission deck itself, the first stage is doing a slide presentation, right? You submit slides. It may be too technical that layman people or people who are interested in the business aspect of it might not buy into it, right?
Mhm.
But then if it's too broad and too generic and it's too business minded, then we would still need like the technical understanding behind it, like, hey, how is it actually working? Is it on cloud? Is it on premise? How do you actually design the navigation pages? So have a good mix in your team. That is super, super important. Yeah.
Mhm. It's very challenging and very exciting because you have to be prepared to answer questions from different types of people as well.
Yes, exactly.
So that would be your advice to future participants. And I think something called USP is also very important.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. Actually, so I have always asked my teams that I've coached, at the end of the day, what is your USP? So what is your unique selling point? Because I would also give them this scenario, right? You guys already shortlisted. You've got 10 teams in each category, right? You've got sprints and you've got marathon, and you are pitching. On the pitching day, it's like a whole day event, right? You start pitching from morning, and then at the end of the day, you already get the results, right, Alex?
Yep.
So I asked this question actually, and I would, I think most of the participants whom I've personally coached would agree that I would always shoot this question. Imagine yourself as the 20th participant of that day, and you are ready. You're ready to go in for a pitch. But however, the panelists or the judges would have heard like 20 or 19 solutions in totality in sprint and marathon, and they'd be rather they'd be kind of tired, or obviously teams going in for the pitch are all having tremendously great solutions, and they could
That
be
we can agree
similar,
on.
that we can agree on, and they're almost similar. So the 19th team just before you might have also presented on Pingbook, also a mobile app, and the features are somewhat similar. So then, like, how do you actually differentiate yourself?
That's true.
So that is something that I would always ask the teams. They don't have to have an immediate answer right now. I mean, they've got time to think about it. But
That's
think
true.
of your unique selling point. I've also shared with them actually. It could be the solution itself, right? It could be the features of the solution itself, which probably the team thinks that, hey, no one else has ever thought of this. Like, we are definitely the only team who has actually designed this. And that would be very, very, it would be actually a high risk, but that would also be a very strong point. But also, I would suggest think outside of your solution. Because we already know your solution is great, but could there be probably, are there experiences that you can share, that you've garnered previously, even before hackathon? Yeah, so experiences, team composition, a lot of other dynamics that you can bring into the presentation room and pitch for your USP.
Yep. What coaches they don't, or
I can't,
finalists.
sorry, Alex, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay.
I think what's interesting about my hackathon is that this,
although, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Like, what's interesting about hackathon is that all the advice from coaches and mentors, they don't even if they don't get it into the finalist, they definitely can use it in any aspect of their lives and also in their businesses, even if they want to take their solutions and create more opportunity elsewhere, actually, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I would hope so.
We hope for the best. And okay, we're almost at the end. There's 2 minutes left. So definitely before I ask you a few short questions, uh, thank you so much for joining us for my hackathon daily updates. So we're going to do a lightning round. This is like short questions and you can answer just like one word or just one sentence if you want to. What's a happy moment for you?
What's my happy moment? Happy moment in hackathon or happy moment outside
Yeah,
hackathon?
anywhere.
Happy moment in hackathons, so let's make it relevant, is when the shortlisted participants got shortlisted and then they actually text and say, "Hey coach, I'm
Ooh,
ready
that's
in."
so
I mean,
sweet.
yeah, so that was happy moment for, I must say, a lot of coaches. So, my peers, we actually received those texts and that lit our day.
Oh yeah, that's really nice coming from the coaches as well. What's something you're thankful for my hackathon?
Something that I'm thankful for my hackathon is that I enjoy meeting the broad range of participants. Um, because, like I said, usually in a project, I would get the opportunity to have one group of clients per project. I'm like meeting, 5 to 7 groups of
So
different
many.
clients in a day. So I am thankful for the experiences and it has sort of become more than just coaching, really. Especially when, the same group and say, "Hey coach, can we, continue the next round?" And they request for a continuity of the conversation. I have enjoyed that relationship building with the participants.
Sounds very wholesome.
Yeah.
What's an advice to keep happy that you believe in that you can also share with future participants?
Sorry, couldn't hear you.
What's an advice to keep
Yeah.
going or to keep happy to future participants? Something that you believe that you can use to keep going.
Small wins. I would go with small wins. So for participants, I know this is for a fact that there were teams who encountered some challenges throughout the duration, because it's 7 days, but there were, at the third day, there were internal team disagreements, or they
Which is
couldn't
normal.
really, yeah, which is normal, which is completely normal. Just simply because they couldn't see the problem statement from a same point of view. Things like that, so there are ups and downs. I would say go for small wins and always remember, why are you doing this? As in, the team together have a shared purpose. So when you want to go into the hackathon, or probably the next hackathon, right? So when you group up with your friends or your peers, have, like, discuss amongst the team members, "Hey guys, why are we doing this?" So whenever there's this up and down, especially the down moments, someone in the team, hopefully, would be able to remind them and say, "Hey guys, we're actually doing this for, X, for X reasons, whatever the shared purpose could be." And celebrate small wins. You managed to do like 2 out of 10 slides, celebrate that. You have come up with a user interface for the solution, celebrate that.
Into a group, that's also a win.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to celebrate my win now. We're at the end of my hackathon daily update. Thank you so much.
Well done,
It's been so
Alex.
fun. Congratulations to you two, to both of us. So thank you, and for the audience, thank you for being with us. And we'll have my hackathon daily update every day. Uh, so see you soon with another guest tomorrow with Afifa. And we hope that you are staying safe and staying strong in these uncertain times. We hope for the best, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alex.